Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's Rafika here. Today's topic will be controversial. It will be discussing how the West created ISIS. And first of all, have you ever wondered why the media, the Western media in particular, is pushing this narrative of an Islamic terrorist group without stating all the facts? So we're going to be discussing about this complex subject. So since 2003, we do know that the Anglo American power is secretly and openly has coordinated direct and indirect support for the Islamic terrorist groups such as Al Qaeda across the Middle East and North Africa. This is motivated primarily by the long standing but often contradictory ambitions to dominate the regional oil resources, as well as to defend an expansionist Israel and to reclaim colonial stakes within the Middle East. This is neocolonialism here. And when we hear about um, President Obama saying military action is necessary to spread the ISIS, which is considered a cancer, we often see how airstrikes damage civilians. And this Western narrative is one sided and doesn't tell the whole picture. So basically, um, the situation of ISIS is basically Taliban 2.0 because training Iraqi and Kurdish ground forces is what happened in Afghanistan. Basically, there is a covert US and British military intelligence which is strategizing in the empowerment of the Islamic militants which they criticize. Okay. During the 2003 invasion and occupation on Iraq, US government covertly supplied arms to Al Qaeda affiliated insurgents while directly at the same time supporting an emerging Shia dominated administration. So it's kind of like divide and conquer as well as dirty politics here. You have to realize that the US military operation in Fallujah largely justified on the claim that Zarqaw's militant force that occupied the city utilized means of collateral damage. So, white phosphorus, cluster bombs, indiscriminate airstrikes had pulverized about 36,000 of the city's 50,000 homes, killing thousands of civilians and terrorizing over 300,000 inhabitants to flee. And basically, they did this um, without considering the civilian population. And you have to understand, as I said, much like the Al Qaeda, the Islamic State or ISIS is made in USA or part of the Western neo-colonial agenda decide to divide and conquer the oil-rich Middle East as well as to counter Iran's growing influence in the region because they want the resources for themselves. First of all, if you look at other events, such as when the CIA in the 1970s used the Brotherhood in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood, which recently has popped into news, to thwart the Soviet expansion and to prevent Marxist ideology among the Arab masses during the time of the communist era, the Soviet Union. And the United States also openly supported Sarekat Islam against Sukarno in Indonesia, again to gain political control, as well as supported the Jamaat Islami terrorist groups against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in Pakistan. So, do you see the emerging pattern here? How the interference of the West is the direct cause of the Islamic groups. I'm not saying that the West is entirely at fault, but the Western government is certainly to blame, and the news is a part of the agenda to deceive the masses who are largely naive about the Islamic State. Okay, and here is documentations that has proven that West, along with Gulf countries and Turkeys, wanted the Islamic Caliphate in order to challenge the Syrian President Assad. So it wasn't about genuine helping, it's about creating a divisive group, utilizing them for the West's own purposes, and other countries followed in this insidious plan of the region. And the declassified government documents will be listed here in the description link below. And to finalize the topic, because it's a very big topic and I can go on and on for nearly an hour, but this is more about the condensing of a complex issue which needs to be put into perspective, that the West did shape ISIS. You see, the West is very much interested in the fragmentation of the Islamic world and is partially to blame for the rise of the Islamic State. People often accuse Islam as the sole cause of the Islamic State. True, but the West has been involved. And you have to understand, as I said earlier, ISIS developed so quickly in a time. Where did it get its enormous amounts of capital? Where did the money come from? And basically, there is a case of a Swedish man, Berlin Gildo, who been accused of terrorism after it became clear that the British intelligence has been arming the same rebel groups the defendant was charged with supporting. So, to sum it up, the West is devious, insidious, and part of a great neocolonial agenda. And that's